What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the stream. Hope you're all doing well. As you might be able to tell, I'm struggling a bit tonight, all right? My voice is nearly gone. I'm going to try my best to get through. Casey, what's going on? Yeah, you're going to have to bear with me tonight because my voice is really struggling. I don't even know why, by the way, because, I mean, I'm a little bit ill, but not like super crazy. But anyway, what a day, eh? What a day in the markets. Who would have called? Who would have called? I mean, I know the reverse 2-bit that's just joined TikTok would have definitely have called this push down. But anyway, yeah, I had a meeting with my boss today and a meeting with some other people. And I thought, you know what? I probably should get rid of my week's holiday. You know, get rid of my week's holiday look. So, yeah, I hope you're doing well, though. Welcome in. Reverse 2-bit says, what did you say, Reverse 2-bit? Says, great day today. Made big profit shorting whilst you were bullish again. I don't think you definitely didn't watch my videos today. Though. I had a 100x leverage with 80 grand margin from 108 short today. Just saying. So yeah, good call. But you clearly didn't watch my videos. If you think I was bullish today, you did not watch my videos. I was massively, extremely bullish. Anyway, welcome in everybody. Do me a quick favor, smash up the like button to a brand new all-time high. We're going to try and get into all of what's happened today. And I guess what is happening today? That's the big question, isn't it, today? Is this the end of the bull market? Reverse 2-bit thinks so. Is this another flush in the market? Like, what should we be looking at? What is the decision right now? Where do we go? Where do we go to? That's the sort of big question we've got to get to. And I guess what, if anything, can we try and look forward to? When you've got Solana dipping 12%, and you've got things like Sui potentially breaking back below $2, you got to try and analyze the market and come out with some sort of solution. I don't know what the solution is yet. We're going to find out as we walk through. The weekly TF suggests an 80,000, 87K dump. Maybe. We got some things to talk about in tonight's stream. We're going to take a look at a couple of key macro trends that I think is worth noting. More importantly, what a lot of people are looking at. And I think that may support some decision making. At the same time, though, you got to play these markets relatively sensibly now. I think this is my view. You got to play them reasonably with an element of caution. So I talked about this the other day. I talked about it last night actually. If we were to break the trend line on that weekly, that would be an indication for me to maybe start to think about just being cautiously neutral. I think that's where I would get to. So. Certainly, I'm looking at all the data. I'm trying to work out what is the right thing. I haven't bought anything. I told you guys the other day I had some stablecoin. I'm just still sat on that. And the reality is that there is just some macro things I would highly recommend keeping your eyes out. Equally, we'll walk through a couple of the big things. Yeah, reverse 2-bit, I got it all. We're going to break all of that down. We're talking TGA. We're talking repo, Binance, Wintermute. We're proper going to get into the reads in this stream, all right? No hopium, no nonsense. Facts. That's what we're dealing with tonight. No emotion. Just simply put, what the fuck is going on and what do we need to get to? Now, interesting when you kind of break down what has happened today, you kind of go, well, you had the 60-minute Donald Trump thing that came out where he specifically for like a minute and 27 seconds talks about how bullish they are on cryptocurrency. You know, you got the president of the United States telling us that crypto is going to be the future, and we still managed to damn show reverse 2-bit. I hate so much. So anyway, with that being said, let's get into it. Let's take a look and see what's going on. If you haven't already, by the way, smash up the like button to a brand new all-time high. If you're here on TikTok as well, tap the screen. I apologize for my voice. Hopefully we'll manage to get through this stream and get out the other side. Fingers crossed. But yeah, I don't often lose my voice, but I may just have to, I may have to talk a bit more like soothing. Can you guys hear me all right if I talk that quiet? I don't know if I can, hold on a minute. Please. Oh, no, not that one. I'm just thinking, can I turn this up a little bit? Filters, gain. Oh, here we go. All right, how does that sound? Oh my God, that's loud. How does that sound for everybody? Does that sound all right? I'm going to try and talk normally. And hopefully we try and, get through. But anyway, 2-bit draw descending channel, pennant. How does that look? No idea at the minute. Oh, that's not what I'm talking about. But I'm sure you can send me it on X. Yo, I'm back from being married. Andy, baby. What's going on? Welcome in. Big month for XRP. Lots of stuff already. Feels like it's coming through for XRP. So, let's get into it, right? Let's talk about what's going on. Here we go. Massive liquidation event on the daily. Now, what's interesting is it did come in over one specific hour. Now, I know we sort of sold through the early hours of Monday morning, so we sort of got this news here late last night. We were kind of trending up, actually. We were well, the shutdown is interesting. We'll talk about that Ardon as well. I've got some very interesting stuff. When we get into the TGA, that's what it's going to do. So, hold on a minute, TikTok. I need to just change this camera. Right. There you go. Right, TikTok, you can look at the screen as well. So, basically, from early hours of the morning, we kind of dumped that resulted in this whole problem, right? This big old sell-off. What's interesting, though, is alts got obliterated. I mean, Sol down 11. You got, Algorand down 12. Sui down 12. I mean, look at some of these. Aethia down 16%. You got Jasmy down 11. Near Protocol down. As well as World of Bit Financial taking a massive hit. Asta down 24%. I mean, this is an absolute disaster right now. Meme coins getting killed. Fetch AI continues to just implode upon itself. Interesting, though, if you can rely on anything, you can rely on Zcash to keep pumping. So, you're not already long on Zcash. I don't know what you're doing with your lives. Anyway, Pepe down 14. Look, the whole market, I'm not going to spend too much time, again, looking at the fact the market's fucked, basically. Bitcoin dominance went up a little bit, above that 60.83 range, with USD and USDC dominance hitting around 5%. So, pretty safe to say that we could get a pretty big push down in the market. How does this fare in terms of some of the previous times we have seen? Well, the reality is, it's not quite up there, but it's certainly sort of getting up there. You can see there some of the biggest liquidation events that we've had. The US tariff hike on China, AML crackdown back in 2021. You can see over leveraged longs flushed again here, the 21st of September. Only the biggest, out of the top 10, 2 of them have come in the last 25 years. Going on, DG. Good to see you, buddy. Welcome in. Good to see you, man. Bitcoin expert in the building as well. Welcome in. I bought my crypto 3 years ago. This don't bother me none. I say, well, I mean, if you bought Solana at $8, it's like, whatever, but still feels a little bit painful. So this is kind of where we get to. So the debate has to be, well, what the fuck is going on? Because again, it's kind of come out of nowhere and all of a sudden everyone's dumping their cryptocurrency again. So let's walk through a little bit as to what's happened. Try and piece together maybe what is, what's the kind of key things to look at and how that's going to play out. So we know that we got another $1.26 billion worth of liquidations today. Because, I mean, why not? If you haven't had a couple of billion liquidations recently, it probably makes sense to have some more. Obviously, the long's getting absolutely demolished. But when we start to look at some of the data that's coming in, it is kind of interesting. So we saw a significant outflow on a number of different cryptocurrencies today. So particularly ETF outflows were pretty strong, 1,361 out of BlackRock, taking us to a total of 3,790 over the course of the last 7 days, and grayscale dumping. So you can see here that this definitely spooked the market, and alongside this, which is BlackRock dumping, we also see a lot going on between Binance. Wintermute is dumping as well. So a really big push down in the market, which I'm not going to sit here and say it was coordinated, but again, it's kind of a bit weird when you look at the chart specifically on, let's say, you can even go into the 30 minute, by the way. If you go into the 30 minute, you can even see exactly where this liquidation flush came in to a 30-minute window. Now, you could argue maybe that's, maybe that's just life, but the reality is we saw this kind of capitulate and then sort of dump on the back of it. So kind of interesting that we see. Now, what are some of the reasoning? Where do we get to? Well, there is a lot of rumors circulating right now that Wintermute is suing Binance, right? What's going on, Crypto President? Good to see you, man. Learning what's in. Joe's here as well. Crypto Gem Hunter, welcome in, buddy. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. There's lots of rumors circulating right now that Wintermute is suing Binance. Remember, although they provide liquidity, doesn't mean they didn't get absolutely wrecked, right? When Binance's APIs failed, when, stop losses failed, and all that kind of shit. So they're not the only ones. $100 million got wiped out. And the rumor mill, and it's kind of a crazy rumor mill, but the rumor mill is CZ's trying to pay it off with Asta. I mean, he's not really anything to do with Binance right now, but yeah. Unless CZ finds a way to compensate, which I don't necessarily think is true because it's Richard Teng that's now the CEO. For weeks, everyone backstage known the Sharks love blood. Don't think it's another FTX. This is purification. Fuck Wintermute. So the reality is that I don't think we'll really get any kind of true understanding of this, but this is obviously an important thing. You've got a big liquidity provider that can move markets, while at the same time, You have got Binance that may be trying to pay something back. Think about it, right? Whenever we talk about liquidation events, it is worth understanding, where does that money go? So let's say, for example, here today, Binance had 12.84 million. Hold on, let's do this really fast. So Binance had 251 million in liquidations. That money just goes to Binance. Let's be clear about this. Doesn't go anywhere else. So like it gets repaid back to any kind of customer, it just goes into the pockets of Binance. And we've seen this a number of times. We've even talked about the fact that we believed Binance was deliberately trying to push the markets down in order to liquidate people that were over leveraged long. And historically, people go over leverage on the longs, like people try and get the bottom, time the bottom, all that kind of crazy stuff. You know, you got people showing insane trades on X, you know, people just make bad decisions. And then that's the reality that, you know, that's why we get these liquidations coming. So you can see there, look, 70% of all the liquidations on Binance were long today, and nets them a pretty substantial amount of money. So does that play into the theory then that maybe they are trying to accumulate capital in order to pay fines or fight something or whatever, right? Even just battle back against Wintermute. Maybe, right? Maybe that's one of the things. I think it could be a reason. I also think there is another reason. And it's to do with two important metrics, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. But I definitely think this could be a thing, right? I definitely think it could be a thing. What happened to BGB? I mean, probably the same as what's happened to the rest of the market. Girard says we're cooked. Well, at the minute, it's definitely worthwhile being sensible with your trading and your spot purchases. That's my opinion right now. But let's talk about what else could be going on right now. And I do think it's worthwhile noting. So, given everything we've talked about with Binance, given the fact that they may be or maybe not about to be sued by Wintermute, isn't it interesting that actually Binance stablecoin inflows have now reached $7.3 billion? Last time inflows reached similar levels were back in 2024, before Bitcoin broke its 69,000 all-time high, and then rallied to 108,000. So you can see here, these are some of the key metrics that we saw. And what it tells us that you've got huge amounts of stable coins going into Binance. So inflows in. So it's people transferring stablecoin, not people buying stablecoin, not people converting Bitcoin to stablecoin, people dumping stablecoin into Binance, which could tell us maybe they're getting ready to buy the bottom. Maybe. Now, we need a bit more to it though, I think. You need to get into the place of, well, if they are truly positioning themselves to buy the bottom, then is there going to be a bottom, right? That's kind of what we need to understand. Well, how do we decide whether there's going to be a bottom or not? Well, there's two important charts we need to look at. This is the first chart, and this is the second chart. So we're going to talk a little bit about what these are. So you guys know that we've talked about repo debt, something that has been on my mind now for probably the last 3 weeks. And I again, we touched on this yesterday as to exactly what it is and how it kind of works. But this aligned with this starts to paint a pretty interesting picture as to what's going on and I guess what we should be watching for over the course of the next week, or certainly probably the next 4 weeks, to be honest. So what is the repo debt? So if you remember, we talked about repo debt yesterday. It's basically a slush fund that the Federal Reserve has that banks can draw on to provide liquidity. So these can be in things like mortgage, like mortgage treasuries, or but not called treasuries. I can't think what they're called now. What they call mortgage something or others. Mortgage options, maybe. Maybe they're called options. I can't remember. Anyway, I can't remember. Basically, that treasuries, and they have this fund, right, where banks can come and say, "Hey, here's some treasury bonds. I need $25 billion because that's my that's why I need to clear my liquidity tomorrow." So if you think about how you get into a bank, you have to go in there and you say, "Hey, I want to draw like 50 grand out, whatever it is," right? Mortgage-backed securities. Perfect. Thank you, Holmes. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, MBSs. So they'll go in and say, "Here's some mortgage-backed securities." So they'll go, like, if you have to go to a bank and say, "I want to get like 50 grand out," that's why they can't do it there and then. A, fractional banking. B, they need some time to kind of get the capital in. That's exactly what it is. What this is telling us, and again, we discussed this yesterday a little bit, is that liquidity is thin at the moment in certain banks. Doesn't mean that they're going to go bust. Doesn't mean that the market's going to go to zero, but it does mean that there is liquidity pinch points, right? And what's important to reference is if the pinch points get worse at some point, then it might go to shit, right? That we saw that with Silvergate Bank, we saw it with Citibank, all those, not Citibank, Silvergate and the other one, I can't remember what it was, where there was a mad rush on it, okay? So important to reference where we are on repo debt. And we saw another 22 billion injected. So this will be a daily thing, wherever there's this kind of balance of banks need liquidity, right? This is going to be important. So it's less about manipulation to a degree and more about liquidity within the banking sector. Now, the other thing to therefore think about and how these two kind of pull together is also in this, right? This is the Treasury General Account balance. Now, you are probably going to need a tinfoil hat for this bit, all right? And I welcome any comments and views and thoughts. It's just me theorizing, kind of diving into a little bit of research, etc. So the Treasury General Account is basically, imagine it as like the United States bank account, right? Just the bog standard. Maybe they went Santander, maybe they went Bank of America, but they get full call interest on it, and it's just the bank, right? Do I think Sol at $50 is possible? No. No, not $50. No, I don't think so. I don't think so, by the way. Analyze Dash, please. Okay, I will. Shabazz, I will have a look at it in a minute. So what is happening right now when we walk through this particular account, the Treasury General account, is that this is actually going up in value. Why? Because no one's been paid for by the government. I think the number's about 670,000, right? But basically no one has been paid by the government. So the government is holding on to this money, which also means that certain things aren't being paid, whether that be bills, whether that be mortgages, whether that be cars. And if you remember, I talked about repossession of vehicles at the minute in the US is the highest it's been forever, right? Highest it's been forever. So you've got people defaulting on car loans, potentially. And then you've got this kind of account moving up. So the last time we saw this massive spike in the general treasury account was prior to the 2021 bull market cycle. Now, I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that this is exactly the same. In fact, I believe that we haven't seen loads of, particular shutdowns from a government perspective, but it is worth noting that previous ones are from like the 1980s. We get a little bit around 2018 to 2019, 95, etc., 96. So, we have not got anything sort of super crazy, but yeah, 2018 to 2019, we did obviously get, which again, you can see this this Treasury General account booming up, obviously with the whole like COVID stuff as well. And then obviously this then peaked for the all-time high for the Bitcoin market, and then down we came, right? Off we went. The same thing is kind of happening at the minute, is that this money's going in. Now, the debate though is once the government opens, then this liquidity has to go out to people, which means people will suddenly get some more money. People will be paid. So we do need to think of these two charts, repo debt in terms of bank liquidity, because again, why would the banks need to go and get liquidity from the Fed? Well, because no one's paying into the banks. Think about the banking system. I'm going to have to take my jumper off, by the way. I'm sorry, TikTok, bear with me 1 second. And by the way, don't get too excited, YouTube, all right? Until you see the six-pack coming out. Anyway, right. So it is worth noting then on that point that whenever we have a bank or a government shutdown, you've got no liquidity going into the into banks. So banks are going to have to leverage a little bit on this kind of debt fund to even kind of move forward. This is going to be super annoying. How do I do this? Like that. It's going to be annoying. So we need to keep an eye on these two things. So you've got less liquidity in the banking sector because the reality is people aren't paying in for it. And then you having them go to the Fed to get money, right? Now, where do we sit in terms of the the government shutdown? Predictions are now heading to December. So, right at the very start of the stream, I said that it might be worth just watching what's going on in the market, just being sensible where you are. Is this or could this get worse? The answer, simply put, is yes, it absolutely can get worse. If we see further governments continue to shut down, if we see further restrictions in terms of liquidity going into the banks, and therefore the repo charges become even bigger, we need to be mindful of that, because the banking sector isn't going to roll over like tomorrow, but at some point, the Fed won't be able to suffice what the banks need. And that's when you get to the point where people go, what do you mean I carved my money out of the bank account? And that's what we got with Citibank and we got with the other banks. I can't remember. Is it like Silverside or something like that? So I think it's important to reference and keep very close to these two. By the way, the best way you can do that is simply by tuning into this channel. We'll make sure we're bringing it every night. As always, there is 165 of you bullish legends in the chat. Don't forget the subscribe button. And if you could, do me a little favor, smash up the thumbs and welcome in 65 people on TikTok as well. So well over 200 people on the stream tonight, which is pretty bullish as well. So they are definitely two things to keep your very much eyes on. Liquidity is everything in markets that are constrained right now. And again, it is worth noting. All right. Florida, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, I had a meeting with work today, so I thought I'd better like shape myself up a little bit as opposed to looking like the holiday hairdo I had. Yeah, I would say also people do not want to hold. They're too scared. Maybe. I think the longest shutdown ever was 35 days, and I think they're on that point now. Yeah, it's 34 days and something, I think. They reckon 1st of December for this. Yo, what the fuck is going on with alt? Any bounce in sight? Not at the short term. I'd rather buy BTC than Sol. In fact, I'd be aiming for $5 Solana. Shut up, Stardog. No way, bro. No way. No way. Well, December would definitely take Trump up to 60 days. Yeah. It's likely that it will come through in early December. Why? Because after a certain length of time, they can basically do what they want. So we do need to be mindful. But these are going to be two things to definitely keep your eyes out for. TGA and repo, okay? Keep very close to those two things. Keep eye, don't worry, it takes time. King Kong is bullish. By the way, let me know if you're bullish. Fair play to you, but under the weather and still. Yeah, honestly, my throat's killing me, but it's fine. I'm going to get there. The rumor next this morning is that Wintermute is suing Binance following the recent crash, which is now causing the current dip. True. You've got a couple of reasons why you've got this dip. The rumor that Wintermute is suing Binance. You got outflows from BlackRock. You got outflows from exchanges. Like, people are dumping cryptocurrency right now, partly because there is a nervousness from the Federal Reserve. There is obviously this whole repo debt and the TGA account as well. Remember, people don't have money right now. So where you would normally get it propped up by things, and remember, people that are buying on the people that are buying on BlackRock as ETFs, they're just customers of BlackRock. They're not just like BlackRock, the entity. They're just customers of it. So yes, you are definitely seeing some outflows here, specifically on eBay, which is interesting, by the way, while the rest of the market is buying, which tells us there is a little bit more demand to the upside on a couple of these. But at the same time, look, that's kind of where we are. We do generally see these periods of flushing out and then, back in. But again, worthwhile thinking about. It's going to be a pretty painful day. Bear market, admit you was wrong. Knowing we are in a bear market though, so yeah, I don't believe I was wrong. I haven't said, I haven't said that. So feel free to, and again, I would say this to anybody that's like, we're in the bear market. I hope you are all in cash USDT, and I hope you're absolutely waiting for the markets, because that would be the sensible thing, wouldn't it? I would like to believe that there is still macro positive news out there. And I'm going to share a little bit as to why I think that is in a minute. So that kind of walks through some of the things to keep your eyes out for. Let's walk through a couple of things to, I guess, to be more positive for, to, I guess, what could be the things that are going to push the market back to the upside, right? That's definitely worthwhile thinking about. The Senate will elect to use the nuclear option to remove the filibuster before long. I mean, that is a possibility. Like, they could literally just do it and then it'd be like, right, off they go. Extreme fear and everyone's saying it's over. The wham pump. I mean, yeah. Think about it. When markets tend to go one way, when people go one way, markets sometimes, or more often not, go the other way. When everyone starts slow and keeps gaining momentum, it's likely what is happening now. People will be trying to recover as much money as they can from cryptocurrency portfolio. True. The government don't want us retail to own crypto, so that's true. Yeah, well, maybe. You said we should be in USDT. No. All I'm saying is that if you believe that we're in the bear market, then you should be in USDT. My opinion right now is I would trade with rationale. I would be very sensible about what I do. Again, my example I gave you here, I've got some USDT that I was contemplating putting into the market, buying a dip. Right now, I'm going to just sit on my hands and see what happens. The other thing that I said I would probably do, breaking that lower line at 108, was I'll wait and see what the close is today. I may put some stablecoin. I may take some profits off some of my bigger holdings and just put them into stablecoin. Why not? Do you know what I mean? What harm's it going to do? What harm's it going to do? I have about $3,000. Let's put like 500. You know what I mean? Yeah, you get the point. You get the point. Daniel Nelson says, buy the dip. What about Duolingo? I feel like I've heard that at some point, but yeah. We'll see. We'll see. Analyze Dash. Is Dash even a thing, by the way, still? Dash USDT. Okay, let's have a look at Dash. Holy shit, it's up 27%. Of course it is. Of course it is. The 2021, 2017 super crazy mega pump coins. I mean, it's still down in the long term, but yeah, I mean, privacy coins, Monero, Dash, Zcash, blah, 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 blah. I mean, in fairness, it's back to its kind of 2022 high. So yeah, Dash is going crazy. Who would have thought that, eh? I mean, you'd be risking buying on a pump. That's my opinion, by the way. That's my opinion. So I'd be mindful of it. Right now, it's just going crazy, but it's going crazy because of a narrative of it's, you know, an old school coin that can be mined. I think it's SHA-256, but I can't remember. So, but yeah, Dash looks crazy, but it also looks way overhyped. Just my opinion, by the way. Man, look at Treasury bonds, by the way. 4.110 on the fucking 10-year. That's absolutely insane right now. Anyway, right. So let's talk about some of the things to be mindful of, right? Let's talk about what could we see that could give us some optimism in the market. Well, there was a pretty big announcement today. I don't know if you guys saw it, but worthwhile just touching on. And the reality is that it was none other than Donaldo Trumparino. We're going to listen to that. Going to listen to that right now because it's a pretty interesting statement. So listen in to what Mr. Donald Trump had to say.
I only care about one thing. Will we be number one in crypto? Crypto has turned out, and in that sense, I've been right. Crypto's turned out to be a massive industry, if you want to call it that. And I'm very proud to say that we are far and away ahead of China and everybody else. Now, China's getting into it very big right now. If you want to go after people, you're going to kill that industry, and it'll be very bad. Tremendous number of jobs. I campaigned positively on crypto, very openly. I campaigned. Biden campaigned against it. When Biden found out that I was getting like 100% of the crypto vote, which was a lot, he switched totally and he went in favor of crypto. They went totally in favor. They had many people under indictment. They let them all go. They let them all go. You know that. Many people were under indictment. Biden was a corrupt president. Biden went all in on crypto at the very end because he thought he could get some votes. It didn't work. They voted for me. I want to make crypto great for America. That's the only thing. I don't want to have somebody else have crypto and have China be number one in the world in crypto. Because in crypto, it's a kind of an industry where basically you're going to have number one and you're not going to have a number two. And right now we're number one by a long shot. I want to keep it that way. The same way we're number one with AI, we're number one with crypto. And I want to keep it that way.
Pretty interesting. That was a 60-minute interview that was done last night in the full unedited version. So there's a 27-minute edited version and there is a full 72-minute unedited version, and he was in the unedited version. So that was from the 60-minute interview that was done, that was aired last night. I don't know when it was filmed, but that's when it kind of came in. So yeah, interesting outcome. Biden last year was great. I mean, that's the truth. Bring back Gary Gensler and Joe Biden. They were doing a great job. Interesting to think about, though. Interesting to think about. Redemption's in the building. What's going on, Redemption? Good to see you. Coming in slightly more chill tonight. That's a good thing. If people do not sell BTC, the dominance does not need to fall below 55. That's true. 2-bit might be a good time to get back into SHX. Shut up, jeez. I don't need that today. I don't need that today. Rebel Aerospace is interesting also how the market reacts to the release of that video. Well, it didn't, did it? Well, although it came out 7:30 last night, I believe. So we did actually get a nice move on the market, and then obviously then everything just kind of went to shit. But this is why the Clarity Act is going to be important, because this will stop any market manipulation, which could be another reason why we are seeing significant selling. So anyway, let's take a look at, I guess, kind of what else we can keep our eye out for. You've got Clarity Act potentially coming through, which is good. Who's this guy? Who's what guy? Nancy Pelosi, best trader ever, is retiring. Yeah, I saw that. She's not going to run for office again. So again, like I said before, it is worthwhile noting where we are. It is also worthwhile noting that there is some positive things coming in the market. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I'm super macro bullish, when, you know, yesterday I said, look, if it breaks below this line, I'm going to start thinking about where I'm at in terms of my portfolio. And I don't think that's a bad idea, by the way. But there are some signs that there is at least a little bit more positivity to come around the corner. Now, what would that positivity be? Well, we've talked about one of them already. Once this unlocks, the Treasury General account starts to dump money back out to people, then that's liquidity into the markets, liquidity into the banks. Fingers crossed. 2bit got more hair and a bit. Yeah, I had a meeting today with my boss, so I had to kind of like sort myself out, basically. We did actually get a nice uptick to a degree in the federal funds target rate. That ticked up to 67.3. That actually dropped yesterday. So again, we get a little bit more optimism that that could be a good news story. The one thing to note, ISM data did actually come in bearish today. I don't know if you guys saw that as well. So the ISM data came in at 47.9, which if you remember, we were saying, look, ISM that is going to come in over 50, then we'd have been all right. But we didn't. That is the harsh reality. It came in bearish. Markets don't like it. It came in at 48.7. The US ISM Manufacturing Purchasing Managers are indexed on PMI, and yes, the ISM manufacturing number. So 48.7. Forecast was 49.4. So generally, and remember we've talked about this, it shows contraction in the market. Markets don't like it. We want to see ISM moving up, not moving down. So we did get that one today as well, which isn't particularly great, but I think probably coming in the point where you've got shutdowns, etc. But again, the reality is that you are seeing it consistently come down. The manufacturing PMI unexpectedly fell in October, marking its 8th consecutive month in contraction. Markets don't like contraction. Markets like expansion. It's important. When BTC falls below 70k, BlackRock is a big problem. Why? Mr. President sounds positive anyway. I mean, that's true. That's true. I reckon it won't be long until BTC is under 100k, even if it's just for a moment. I mean, a lot of people predict that we're going to 100k. That is a thing, by the way. A lot of people think. And this is why I'm saying, look, there's no harm in just, you know, what do they call it? De-risking. Nothing wrong with that. We need this, we need that on the day. No, we just need the dumb green candle to stretch to 100. Yeah, I know, exactly that. Exactly that. So, look, worth sort of seeing and how this plays out. I think MicroStrategy will blow up and you'll all get your $1 off. Well, I mean, we talked about that before. We talked about the fact that they are printing so many shares that eventually a share in MicroStrategy won't be worth anything. And then it all becomes on the revenue you generate from Bitcoin. That's the reality. It's import taxes affecting ISM at the cost of goods is far more expensive for businesses. Yeah, that's true. Which we've kind of said, and the Fed have said as much as well, that there is the only thing they have said is that it should be a one-time payment when it comes to tariffs as opposed to a consistent reoccurring problem. But yeah, the Sol chart, there you go. I mean, look, just another massive wick down. Alt's getting ruined today, which kind of tells us a little bit about Wintermute and all the liquidity providers, doesn't it? But yeah, I mean, Sol's back down to what? August lows before the move up. The problem you've got, as everything, is that we continue to come down. So, you know, you look at kind of where Solana's going right now. It's got to break this uptrend. Is it going to break the uptrend? That's the big debate. We'll see. Exchanges dumping the traders, we will learn. I mean, that's the other thing as well. You're like, fucking hell, will you just stop going long on the market, please? Like, for Christ's sake, just wait. See what happens. I think altcoins right now is not a great indicator of where markets are. This is kind of where I'm at right now. And like I said, this was going to be my validation point. I talked about yesterday, 108, 500. We broke below it. So I'm going to keep an eye out for it. And I'm just going to be sensible. Could 126 be the top of Bitcoin? It could. Do I think it is? No, but it could be. It could be, in my opinion. Al says, how come the other markets are flying and crypto is the only one which is struggling? What's your thesis on this? Well, here's my thesis on why gold was flying. So we know that banks were buying gold like crazy. They bought more gold in the recent 12 months than they bought in the past 100 years. Why? Well, gold is a relatively stable hedge against weakening dollars, right? Or just weakening economies. Gold will surpass the currency, etc. So we know banks were buying a shit ton of gold. And remember, we talked about this yesterday. Bank reserves are generally seen as cash equivalents or cash. They don't generally use gold as a form of, oh, well, they've got 85,000 tons of gold, which is this cash. No, that's not how they do it. So we know that they've been buying a shit ton of gold. That's one. So that's why I think we got the gold pump. Why have stocks been rallying? Well, we know stocks have been rallying because of the Magnificent Seven. So you've got massive AI boom. And in fairness, if you look at the S&P 500 as an example, you've got Nvidia that's just driving that market higher. You've got Apple, which printed massive earnings. Again, I mean, did you see the spike on the Apple chart? Holy shit, like that thing's going fucking wild. Your Microsoft. So you've got these top 7 that make up about 48% of the S&P 500's move. The rest of the S&P 500 shit. Like, it's shit. So I think that's why you're getting those 2 move. And the reality is that people feel way more comfortable in those markets than they do in the crypto market. Way more comfortable. You've got, elements of lack of trust, probably to a degree, with the Trump administration because of the ties back into world a bit financial. But yeah, I think it's misguiding to be like, oh, the S&P 500 is absolutely fucking skyrocketing. It's not. The Magnificent Seven are skyrocketing. The S&P 500 is pretty flat, which tells you then there is a liquidity squeeze. There is potentially contraction in the market that people are a bit like, oh, we'll just kind of wait and see. Doesn't mean though, because that liquidity is still there. And we talked about this the other day. The fact that you've still got liquidity in terms of USDT and stablecoin dominance. Remember, we just talked about the fact that exchange stablecoin reserves are booming on Binance, and I dare say they're on the same on the other platforms as well. So we know that there's loads of liquidity going into exchanges. We know that there's loads of liquidity sat in the Treasury General account, which, by the way, should run relatively neutral because they shouldn't need it. We also know the banks are desperate for liquidity at the end of day because they don't have enough to suffice the demand the next day. At some point, this liquidity has to come from somewhere. The debate will be where it goes. Do people just go, me, I'm not getting into that crypto shit. That's wild. Like, oh my God. You know, Kevin down the road bought at 125K. Within a month, it was down at 100. Like, but a goal, bro. BlackRock's nearly in problems 3 years ago with paying back its lenders for BTC holders. Well, there you go. Somebody said earlier on CNBC that BTC will go 150 to 200K, 70 by the end of the year. Good luck with that. Yeah, I mean, look, Tom Lee is always going to be slightly more bullish. Now, interestingly, by the way, he did actually buy more Ethereum today. He scooped up 82,300 Ethereum. So, I mean, they're pretty bullish on what's going on with the markets. Why is the chance of rate cuts? Jerome Powell said, Al, have you just not been tuned in for last week? Jerome Powell basically said, don't rely on a cut in December, basically. King Kong said, the great thing about crypto is that everything can change. Yeah, 100%. Of course it can. What do I think of XRP? Pretty bullish on XRP. Now, there was some interesting news today. Ripple Prime launching its institutional OTC service. Passes $1 billion. So pretty good news. Again, could Ripple be on the way to be a IPO registered company? Perhaps. OTC buys of XRP. Guess where they're buying it from? The escrow. Let's go. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but it would be good if it was. I'm bullish on XRP, XLM, and ETH. Nice. So, yeah, worth noting. But yeah, we are up a little bit on that Fed rate cut. 67. We were at 63. All down to the fact that Jerome Powell was like, yeah, well, we are nervous. Well, he didn't say we're nervous, but the reality is that he didn't rule out a non-rate cut. When do we get the Fed minutes, by the way? Does anyone know? I can't remember when we get it. Jobless claims, Fed balance sheet, Goldsby. Get out of here, Goldsby. I don't know. I thought it would have been sooner rather than it is. Okay, I can't remember. Gerard says time to buy more. Maybe hodl is not over. I mean, let's hope so. Like I said, a lot can change. I mean, today we got Fed Bowman speaking. Tomorrow we got Daly and Cook speaking today, who both said, by the way, rate cuts should still continue and there should be further rate cuts in December. Whether they'll do that or not is a debate. I don't think we're going to get the double rate cut, which a lot of us wanted. At the same time, though, the risk is that the government is still shut down. And I think if the government's shut down, why would they cut rates? That's the debate, isn't it? So 10th of December is the next Federal Reserve meeting. The hope is that the government is open by the 1st of December. If we haven't, and you've got a government shut down through December, then we might literally be in a problem. Might be in a problem. Just testing. Thanks, Al. Just looking at the ISM chart, very interesting. Each uptrend has been alts run Jan 24. So yeah, I was talking about this. I did on my Bitcoin update video. I was talking about this, which was on the ISM data, right? Let me just make sure I get this right. Oh my god, what am I doing? 2 bits, sort your life out. So when you kind of overlay the ISM data on the price of Bitcoin, you start to get a pretty interesting view of kind of where this goes. Let me just make it into a little bit more of an obvious line. I think I put it in orange yesterday. You sort of get this kind of spike followed by the correction. So generally speaking, we actually do generally see ISM sort of move or delay move on the price of Bitcoin. So you can see the move on BTC followed by the move on ISM. You see the same here. Then ISM moves up. Then we see the dip. Then we see it move again and followed by ISM. So you kind of say, well, maybe the manufacturing is going to come down a little bit. That could push the price of Bitcoin to the upside. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but history. What? This behavior is not in line with our policies. Gifting is suspended in this live for 10 minutes. Reason. Reproduce content. What? Reproduce content. It's me on the screen. And how can you get reproduce content? It's me. So yeah, so interesting when you look at this on the price of Bitcoin specifically. So again, this is why I think ISM is going to be important. And remember, that can change pretty quickly, albeit it's a lot of hype and it's a lot of, I guess, like expectations versus where it's potentially going to get to. So, can you do it with a total cap 3? Yes, I think it's this one. Best way to win is DC at this price? Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Right. So, so there is ISM on total 3. Let me just color it in. Give it a better color than that, actually. That one. Let's do it in bright orange. There we go. There we go. So yeah, there's the ISM versus versus the, oh my god, what am I doing here? Versus the price of BTC right now. So kind of not quite the same. I think it's way clearer on Bitcoin, if I'm honest. Way clearer on Bitcoin. So, but important to reference though. Interstellar, what's going on, buddy? Welcome in. Yes, Shusha's could. Well, I mean, that's true. And I think that is also, you know, worth noting, by the way, in my opinion. So, market tanking. Well, I mean, it has tanked. I mean, we're holding up. We're just under 107 right now. So, fingers crossed we can push back above that. Fingers crossed. I mean, if we can get a close, by the way, if we get a close above 108, 109, maybe we might be all right. But yeah, it kind of feels like we might not. Too many altcoins these days. Yeah, there's a lot of altcoins, a lot of spread liquidity, in my opinion. QE in the lower borrowing will help ISM go bullish. Yeah, don't forget QE's not until QE won't be until December, by the way. So as much as that is, you're right, and you know we're probably in a world where hopefully we get that. It isn't going to come anytime soon. Man, I can't believe I got a gifting suspension for apparently reproducing the same content. It's like my face on the screen. No one will buy the dip at the moment. The market's too dangerous. Exactly. Well, look, and I absolutely, I'm in that place, by the way. I'm absolutely in that place. Damn, crypto is stressful. Yeah, tell me about it. Because I'm like, I'm going to sit tight and wait and see what happens. Do I see 4,000 on ETH this week? Probably not. Probably not. You got to ask yourself, what's the catalyst to push it? What is the catalyst to push ETH this week? Picked up a small amount of crypto this evening. Hey, what's going on, Rob? Good to see you, buddy. Let us know what you bought, bro. I'm curioso. I'm in it for long term. And look, that's the reality is, I mean, people will be looking at it going, hey, this is a great opportunity to buy the dip. But yeah, do I see 4,000? Probably not, if I'm dead honest. Bitcoin made 7x, they're happy, but why did they not rotate to ETH than the top alts this year? Well, I think what you got is this kind of push in the gold market, the push in the kind of Bitcoin market. And I think people just kind of, I don't know, buyer exhaustion, if you will. kind of feel like it sort of faltered and it was like, yeah, is what it is. Remember, you haven't lost a penny until you sell. Be patient. I've been doing this for 5 years now and still haven't lost a penny. Ask me why. My patience is key. Or just worried about falling knife. Yeah, well, look. That's why we need to see some catalyst. Now, what's important to reference here on a couple of things is we've hit some important measures. So, again, if you look at Ethereum, by the way, holding the 200 exponential moving average, good news. The one to be mindful of on BTC, look, 107, you know, maybe. The one to be mindful of on BTC is the 50-week moving average, all right? That is the one we need to keep an eye out for. So let's do that in orange. In fact, bull case, we'll do, what should we do as a bull case? Bright. Oh, we do green, actually. Bear case, orange. So yeah, so we can do that one. So the 50-week moving average is there on the ribbons. So if we go to the weekly candles and sort of start to get a view of sort of where we are, these are where we need to be mindful of. Bull case, as long as we're above this blue line, this is the 50-week moving average for what a lot of people will refer to as like the bull market indicator, basically. As long as we're up above this line, then we're okay. Tells us that the bull market is intact. Below the 50-week, which is around 90. Well, yeah, it's sort of 100K right now. So we may dip below it. We may wait and see. And the monthly, that's where you get it. So 89K on the monthly. I think it's a little bit higher, actually. I think it's like 90 something. But that's kind of where we are. So just be mindful of that one. That's my opinion. But as long as we don't drop below that, the bull market technically is still intact. Whether we sort of, you know, go through that line, that's going to be the bigger debate, isn't it? But we'll see. Right. Stacking cash for the crash. So I can pimp toilet. Let's get it. Let's get it. By cab. BTC under 95K is the bear market. Yeah. Is a bear 20% below all-time high? Well, we are, where are we at? As of right now, we are 15.5% down from the all-time high of 124,000. So, yeah, not super bullish, I think it's fair to say. Not super bullish. I think we just got to wait and see what happens. Again, my opinion, though, just be mindful of what you're trading. If you are hugely into altcoins, then you probably want to just keep your eyes peeled, particularly with what's going on in the markets right now. Just my opinion. Bear market never started this way. Again, yeah, I agree. I agree. Sorry, did you come back and hear something about 99K? Well, a lot. No, 98K. 98K. I've been in crypto since May 2017. I wish I'd only accumulated Bitcoin. I'd have been rich, not so broke now. I told you. Well, I mean, look, that's why this market is one of those that if it was easy, everybody would do it. That's the reality, isn't it? The fact of the matter is that it's not. And therefore, we've got to try and pick our way through and try and come out the other side and, you know, in a better place than we went into it. That's my view anyway. The S&P on track is to give 20% gains for the third year in a row. That will be the first time in history. Yeah, I mean, the S&P 500 is out of its mind. Up again today, 0.8. Bounced off the CME gap, although did fill it the other day. Just saying. Just saying. But yeah, S&P 500 looks pretty good. Likewise, the NASDAQ and the dollar actually all moved up as well today. So important to think about. And like I said, the treasury market booming. 4.1% of the 10-year treasury is pretty crazy, by the way. I would expect some sort of federal buyback again, maybe in the next couple of weeks, just as they start to try and claw that back in, is my opinion. How is my appeal not approved? How can I have been suspended for reproduced content when it's my face on the screen? I don't get it. Man, TikTok is wild sometimes. Hence why people buy memes and alts. Yeah, retail don't have the money to buy Bitcoin to make massive gains. That's true. Make XRP again. What's going on, buddy? Welcome in. Good to see you. People are reporting you. Said, do you think they are? Yeah. Do you think that's like what it is? I mean, how can it be reproduced content if it's me on the screen? Like, what am I reproducing? I don't understand. Yeah, Chris Bendix. I'm not banned. It just stopped me from being shared for like 10 minutes. basically. It's over in 1 minute and 8 seconds, but I'm not quite sure what I did, to be honest. But learn more on TikTok Live. I'll have to have a look and see what it was. I mean, is it really reproduced content if I just keep answering questions that are the same question? Oh, do you think it was? No way. No way. That's true, actually. Maybe it was that. Holy shit, I didn't even think about that. What? Why can't you do that? All right, fine. Fine, that's it. You guys don't get to see the screen ever again. I mean, it's pretty wild, but it could be, I guess. It could be. Oh, really? Why did he got suspended for it as well? All right, fine. Fine. SK says YouTube been coming for crypto channels. Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that. Pretty wild, if you ask me. Pretty wild. That, but again, you know, it could be another reason why we should be more bullish on the market, but we'll see. Well, let's count it down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 3, 2, 1. Hey, yeah, there we are. The restriction has now officially ended. Let's get bullish, everybody. If this is it for cryptocurrency market, then next whole season people better be involved. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? Yeah, that's true. I'll probably have to do that. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. People are just going to be like, nope, screw it. No. I just got a restriction for 10 minutes. I think it probably was. I think it probably was for sure. It must have been. It can't be for sure anything else, can it? So anyway. Right. Where are we at on Bitcoin right now? Just under 107. Just under 107. What have we got coming tomorrow? Anything interesting? I don't think so. Tuesday, Fed Bowman's going to speak. Although I believe he said they should cut rates. Although he is a super bear sometimes. That's about it. Man, tomorrow is really boring, actually. Poman! Where have you been, Poman? What's been going on, brother? What's been going on? Good to see you, man. So, yeah, vehicle sales could be an interesting one. That could support the repo idea, maybe. There are repossession orders that are going in for the bank. Maybe that supports that narrative. I don't know. We'll see. David, the place has got the same as YouTube. Can I say something? Well, yeah. Gotta wait and see. Although YouTube's cooking tonight. We're at like, you know, we've had like well over 160 people in this entire stream. If the top is in, diminishing returns say we're cooking cooked. Moon said go get your pants on. I mean, that's true. Let's hope for some more optimism, eh? Let's hope for it. We just need to close a little bit more optimistic. The debate will be intense. Let's have a look at the pre-markets. Will you reduce your name to 1 bit? I mean, it just would be awkward when people searched for 1 bit and I don't come up. What the pre-markets look like, I would imagine not cool. But let's see. Dow down a little bit. S&P looks like it might rally a tad. I guess we don't really care about this. What is the thing we need to look at to see the market move? Hong Kong Stock Exchange looks reasonable. Commodities look like they might move a little bit. Currencies look a little bit up. So, yeah. Maybe. We'll have to wait and see. %of all new cars sold in the UK IP. Yeah, I mean, that's true. But more BTC at 106.9. With every good news we have, everything goes down in cryptocurrency. I mean, that's true as well. That's always the difficult challenge. Again, the problem you've got with massive institutional investment is that they are able to control an element of the market. And look, that's why the Clarity Act is going to be so important, because the Clarity Act is going to protect against that, which could be a reason, like I said at the start of the stream, why they're dumping the markets, because they're a bit like, whoa, hold on a minute. Like, what do you mean that the Clarity Act's going to come? This is bad news. But when we will get that, we'll see. If this is all she wrote, I'm literally only buying BTC from here. That's a good point. Right. $16,000 likes, baby. Get it, Fairground. Love it. Love it. Tell you one thing we haven't looked at, which might be worthwhile, just while we're here really quickly, is if we go into this and have a look at the heat map and see kind of where some of these pockets of liquidations are and what these could look like. Let's do the next 3 days on Binance. So you've not got a ton of liquidity down to the lower side, have we? If you think about where this chart sits right now, not a ton to the lower side, a little bit around 104, but it's about 44 million. What does it look like to the upside? Well, look at this at 108 or basically 109. You've got, 44 million. You'd have already broken through 44 million at 108, 570. So, does this tell us that we might go liquidity under to the upside? A market maker's going to start pushing? Maybe. Casey liked the live. Hey, thanks for reposting. Yeah, guys, click this little button down here somewhere. This, I think it's here. Look, this repost the stream. That'd be bullish. I think we lost a lot of UK retail this cycle. The government made it so hard for new crypto to buy crypto. Well, yeah. Apparently there's a new Bitcoin ad with Rachel Reeves on it as well. I haven't seen it, but yeah, we should be leading the way, innovating the way, and, trying to do the good things, but we're not. About 1 billion, 1.19 billion, I think it was. 1.15 billion. Yeah, chunk of leverage got wiped out again. Like what, bro? UK retail's Black Friday scam off day. When is that? When is Black Friday? When is Black Friday? I'm not sure. I feel like it's soon. If people buy BTC next time and get 4 or 5x, they'll be happy with the safe. But that's true. That's true. I mean, yeah. What you've definitely got is almost like a change in the market, isn't it? Institutional buying, institutional transacting. Retail at the minute, just not even bothered. They're like, well, yeah, fine, we're going to go into stocks, S&P 500, we're going to buy gold, we're going to queue up and buy gold. Like, why would we not do that? It's a great idea. So, I guess, time will tell, won't it? Time will tell. Let me just close a couple of these windows down because I don't know why I've got so much open right now. The trouble is Bitcoin might be leading the way, but it's all institutional valuation, nothing retail can afford. I mean, that's true as well. Which is always the problem that you open the gates to institutions. Yep, they're going to bring some big money in, but sometimes it doesn't play out. I mean, look, some of the things to watch out for tomorrow will be, what does the DXY do? Is the DXY, because we need the DXY to go down, by the way. So if DXY goes down, generally speaking, that could be good news. We need treasuries to come down. Don't forget, we talked about this before. These treasuries need to come down. If treasuries come down, people are more likely, not proven to, but more likely to go into risk on assets, which would be, cryptocurrency, for example. And yeah, we need to kind of keep an eye on what some of these Fed governors are going to say. Let's have a look. Fed Waller speech. What's he going to talk about? Do we know? Big Al, see you later. Focused on economic outlook, future payments. Waller believes inflation is on a path to 2% and that monetary policy should move towards a neutral setting. No, Fed Waller. What the hell, bro? Inflation appearing stable, he believes the ultimate disposition of the labour market will be the more important factor for future monetary policy decisions. So you're probably going to get something relatively neutral to bearish tomorrow, I would imagine, from Fed Waller, which is fine. I remember in 2016, everyone was talking about crypto. At this time, nobody ever talks about it. When I bump into random people and chat to them, it doesn't help when I see the Bitcoin. Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's true. I mean, the difference between 2017 and now, though, is obviously, you've got the market that was here, because a lot of 2017 investors are still here, aren't they? Let's call it as it is. Do we think Sol goes below 20? If Sol went below $20, do I think it's a good buy? Yes. Do I think it's going to go below $20? No. No, I don't think it goes below $20. I mean, Solana at $8 was a steal. Do you know what I mean? Bear markets are great. Bear markets after FTX collapses were even better. Do I see Solana getting down to $8 from where it is right now? I don't think so. You'd need like a crazy, like an insolvency from like a big exchange like Binance or HTX or something like that. And I just don't see it. Go with GoXRP, go Chili's. Fairground's bullish. But yeah, I mean, the reality is now you just haven't got, I know this sounds like a crazy statement, but the sellers outweigh the buyers. That is a problem. It is a problem in an expanding cryptocurrency market. Because it just wrecks everything, doesn't it? Days like today just like destroys everything. And my aerodrome bags at 3.46% APR. What the hell? I've always said that I didn't. I always said, didn't I? The bigger the valuation of Bitcoin, the more crypto adoption we give the institutions, the more manipulation. I hate being right. But all we can do is hold tight. That's true. Caffeine in the building. What's going on, buddy? Welcome in. Good to see you, man, as always. Bullish on you. Vlad Bogdan, welcome into the live stream. Good to see you, buddy. As always, appreciate everybody. Don't forget, if you are enjoying the content, give us a little thumbs up on YouTube. I'd massively appreciate it. And if you're brand new around here, I live stream 6 days a week, breaking markets down, trying to get under the skin of what's happening, taking any questions, thoughts, opinions. I am sorry, my voice is bad tonight. It is bad tonight. So if you are, new around here, definitely consider subscribing, turn the notification bell on. I'd really appreciate it. Also, I have a totally free Discord that you can join. Links in the description, or it's in my bio on Discord. On TikTok as well. We do have a premium Discord. Again, it's the same Discord, just with a few extra pieces. Just become a channel member here on YouTube. Grab a subscription on TikTok. You get access to that. Trade alerts, new coin launches, VC opportunities, whatever we can get your way. It's like $8 a month. It's totally worth it. Cheapest out there, in my opinion. Too many cigars too, but yeah, I don't even know where it's come from. I literally haven't done any drinking. I don't smoke, so just too much talking, I think. That's the problem when you live stream for like an hour and 10 minutes every single night and then do some content on videos. It can be pretty challenging. But, we just got to make it happen. Eternal XRP, what's going on, buddy? We've just got to make it happen. Got to keep grinding. These markets aren't going to solve themselves. As a community, we've got to come together and make the best decisions possible. And so far, I think the best decision right now is to trade carefully and trade with a sentiment of what if. And I don't think you'll do too bad. Right, let's close all these windows down. Don't need all these windows open now. Let's just stick in that one. Stick to the price of BTC and see what we're doing. Hey, Toby, so what exactly happened with the market? Well, you got a lot of selling from Binance. You got a lot of selling from BlackRock. A lot of selling from Wintermute. Allegedly, Wintermute is about to sue Binance for hundreds of millions of dollars for that massive liquidation event that came in on the 10th of October. You've got Fed repo debts increasing, so the amount of money that banks having to borrow from the Federal Reserve because they can't suffice customer demands is spiking. All kind of bad news, if we're honest. All kind of bad news. There is a caveat, and there is elements of good news, though, that is worthwhile noting. So, none of the top market cycle indicators have been hit. Liquidity is set to come into the market. A couple of things you need. Government shutdown needs to end. That's definitely a thing. End the government shutdown. And, wait for liquidity to return. Hopefully, we'll then see us push the markets back up again. But I don't know. The market feels like it could go down further yet, in my opinion. It feels like we may get a further push down, but let's hope not, eh? Let's hope not. What do you think about buying BNB during the crash? I mean, I don't mind BNB. It's under 1,000. You just got to ask yourself, where do you think it's going to go? Do you think BNB does a 2x? Maybe. What if XRP is about to go to $5? Let's hope so. I'm bullish on that. I mean, it's at $2.30. I think right now, if I'm dead honest, it feels like it might drop below $2 before it gets to $5. Just my opinion, by the way. So be mindful because, it might not quite play out as we want or hope, but you never know. Yeah, load up on 50x shorts, please. At this rate, if Bitcoin goes below 100k, you definitely see a lot of meme coins drop and get another zero like Pepe Bunkership. Potentially, yeah. Hear people on X who kiss his ass. He's ruthless, crashed FTX last cycle on the market. But yeah. I mean, it's that thing, age-old thing, isn't it? Like, you can just grab a fucking $200 million worth of liquidations. Like, a lot of power, isn't it? A lot of power. Too bad I believe this has been a challenging cycle. If this was the end of the cycle, what would it mean for the next cycle, in your opinion? I think if this was the end of the cycle, you see the end of crazy super mega cycles, because what you then get is you probably don't ever get a real retail market ever again, because they would come in and go, well, if you remember last cycle, they liquidated 3 separate occasions over $1 billion. Like, why am I going to invest in that? So, yeah, that I think it would be bad news personally. That would be bad news, in my opinion. But hopefully we don't. Are you still in XCL? Thoughts on that and new protocol dropping Wednesday? I mean, I was just going to have a look at it now because it was moving pretty well. Where's it at today? I didn't have a look at it. So it's up another 25%. It's 11 million market cap. So yeah, the market might be shitting its arse all out, but XCL's holding up reasonably well. So I don't know too much about the protocol they're launching, but yeah, I mean, you can't argue with green candles. Never trust a billionaire acts like he has a humble and does it. Yeah, I mean, that's true, Mark. That's true. But I mean, yeah, look, XCL's having a decent move right now. There won't be a lot that's going on in DeFi that it's actually worthwhile bothering with. So It is unfortunately what it is. So, still in my 5 tokens. I haven't sold anything. BTC, XRP, ADA, HBAR, and Link. Nice. Nice. Well, you know, we're trying to hold it down. That's the main thing, isn't it? That is the main thing. But, I mean, look, you can see Bitcoin's rolling over again a little bit. 1065. So, there's a little bit of a push down here on the 15-minute. Proper volatile. It's still, I heard as well. XRP ETF on the 13th. Yeah, well, yeah, Canary Capital is what I've heard that could be coming on the 13th, followed by Bitwise and then Vanek, I believe. So let's hope so. I mean, it'll be super bullish for XRP. Is it going to be, you know, mega crazy volume? Possibly. I mean, the Rex Osprey one did some pretty good volume. I think this is over 100 million now. So yeah, there's some definitely good news about that. We'll just see. Get them. I mean, Solana. They I think are over 100 million right now on their ETF, so definitely some demand. Emilio, thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. Welcome in. Hope you're doing well. Man, I keep getting loads of people requesting me to go and be a thing. Pending publish. What's going on, buddy? Welcome in. Fairground, see you later, pal. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, I'm going to get off in a minute. My voice is killing me still. So, I mean, look, we'll have to wait and see. That is the reality right now. Is there good news coming tomorrow? Probably not. Probably not, but we'll see. I wonder if I can claim my losses from AJ. Well, you can. You definitely can. You can offset your losses against your gains. You just need to record them. Is this a good area to buy BTC? I personally would wait a little bit. I feel like it might push down a little bit further, personally. I mean, I said last night my de-risking number was 108, so I'm going to see what the close is tonight, and I may take a little bit off my like Solana holdings, my ETH holdings, just because why not? I'm in profit. Take a little bit off, potentially even a little bit of XRP as well, but we will see. Mark D, I mean that's true. Yeah, that's true. So I don't think it's anything. It'll be a bad news story. Keep an eye on that repo debt. Keep an eye on the Fed balance sheet, and I think as they walk through. You know, there's nothing bad about de-risking at all, actually. Because if we are going to be in a a super bull cycle, then, you know, albeit you're going to come back in a little bit higher, you've still got an opportunity, I think, to, you know, to make it count. You just got to wait and see. But anyway. Right, everybody, I'm going to get off. My voice is killing me. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. I appreciate it. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, and you're brand new, FYI, I really appreciate you guys spending some time with me. If you enjoyed what you saw tonight on the live stream, then do remember we live stream every single day, 4 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. in the UK. Break the markets down, walk through some of the macro data, and I'll answer your questions. Try and give you a more balanced view of the market while at the same time trying to take any concerns and queries you guys do have. And likewise, shout out to everybody that tuned in on TikTok as well. I appreciate you guys for sure. Don't forget to hit the follow button, and it is gradually decaying on me. That's why I'm going to get off. As always, thank you so much. We'll be back tomorrow. Enjoy the outro. Let's hope for a better market. And I'll see you guys very soon. Take care.